Well, hello peeps. So today I want to talk about some of my feelings towards Season 1 of The War Within here. Now, some of the things we should talk about are quite obvious problems that many have noticed, and some of the things are a little bit niche. I also do have to preface this with saying that I'm still a little bit sick, so sorry if I sound differently than usual. Now, first and most obvious thing that I hope immediately gets fixed is the MMR issue. It is very clear that MMR has been scuffed once again, and basically to an effect it's funneling people to only play solo RPGs. While I think solo RPGs are quite fun, sometimes you want to play with friends, sometimes your friend is a DPS as well, right? So trees would be the answer for you, right? But everybody just kind of being funneled into solo RPGs with rating, I feel like it's a little bit scuffed. And ultimately, a lot of people are just gonna be goal-oriented, so a lot of people are just gonna be playing solo RPGs because that's where they can get the rewards. I also think it's just an overall issue when it comes to rating, or how would you say, like, it's very silly that every season basically has a completely different rating. Like, every season you don't know where you stand as a player. You might be 2400 one season, then 2200 other season, then 1800 one season, then 2600 another season, and that could be all the exact same rating, right? Like, that could legitimately all be basically the same exact rating, the same exact skill level. So I really think this is something that Blizzard needs to work on, as long as they have this rating threshold for the rewards, right? 2400 should not be something different every single freaking season, right? It should be a little bit more of a constant thing, right? Obviously, things change throughout the years. Even in something like League, the players play in much different skill levels than they were before. I would say even in some ways, some players are worse in some levels, on some level, other levels, players are better. Ultimately, they just need to finally figure out how they want this system to work, because it's just changed every freaking season. Another thing that is a super annoying note for me, at least personally, is that melee life is just absolute garbage. It just feels an excruciating, annoying experience to play melee, and I would say this is the most felt on Arms Warrior. Now, this has to do with a lot of different things, but I would say one of the main things would be passive CC. A lot of classes just gotten passive CC on their toolkits, mainly passive roots. Also, some of these roots don't break, like the freaking Sentinel root from the Hunters. For some reason, I'm taking literally 80% of my HP in that root. Like, it just feels like an absolute hard CC at that point, right? Also, range classes just getting a lot tankier, and some classes even getting more mobile. Specifically, right, Hunters have gotten a lot tankier, maybe received a little bit more mobility. Freaking dragons are extra mobile. They have never been a monstrosity like this. They were painful in Dragonflight to play against as a melee player, but this is just not. It's actually like feels like unreal. Like, actually feels like no interaction other than when the person is absolutely stunned. And I've been playing a little bit of Rogue lately while I was sick, man, and it just, Rogue even feels scuffed. Like, just it's insane how much passive stuff is just happening constantly, and that is like forbidding you from reaching your target. And we just have to admit that range is a huge freaking advantage. It's just how far away you can get absolutely destroyed. But in a lot of cases, also your mobility not even reaching the target, like it is actually insane. I also must admit that I really didn't see this coming on the PTR, especially since some of the stuff was much stronger. For like the warrior root removal was like 30 seconds. And now it's like, what, 1.5 minutes, right? So you basically never really get to use that, or you don't really get to use it on a constant basis, right, to get out the roots. And Warrior for me is the class that really particularly feels bad to play. Arms kind of feels additionally bad because you have to kind of set up your goals and stuff, but it is just a very infuriating experience. Try to play a warrior that is not a gnome as well. It's just an absolute infuriating experience. Like, I felt so much better on my freaking gnome than on my human. It is like hard to compare, like how much of a difference Escape Artist makes in this current state of the game. I feel like we're in kind of a situation like in the beginning of Dragonflight, where all the classes basically received a lot more CC with the talents being unlocked, right? And of course, Blizzard needing to nerf CC. I feel like we are in the same situation here now, except it's not maybe as glaring. Like, a lot of classes gotten more CC, a lot of classes has gotten these like passive ass roots, passive ass slows, but there's nothing to counteract it, right? There's no overarching balancing thing to counteract this. Melees don't have anything specific they can pick up to actually fight this, right? These things that have been added. And that's basically what has me worried, is that problems this time around are design-wise. Of course, all of these things come from them wanting to design this game for PvE, but when the problems are design-wise, I feel like it's much harder to fix. It's a fix that has to wait for big patches, and you have to wait for them for a long time. Which is why I'm feeling very disheartened right now with some of these things. But before I let you get on with the video, I do have to inform you that only 4.3% of you subscribed. So if you have been enjoying the content, please consider smashing that subscribe button. Now lately, YouTube is restricting most of my videos for some reason, maybe because of my potty mouth, but regardless, if you want to keep up with the current Mikadika content, do consider smashing that notification bell as well. On a more brighter note, I have been thinking a lot about gearing lately, and I think gearing should just be unlocked earlier for PvP in some ways. Maybe this would need some tuning so the PvE fellas are not crying about it, right? But I feel like it's also harder to get the feeling for the game because some classes don't really function without their tier sets. Some classes want more stats in general, right? Want less versatility, want to have more crafted gear and such. So I feel like just for the sake of competitiveness and the sake of balancing in general, I feel like gearing should be kind of unlocked earlier in some ways. But generally speaking, I just think we should have our gear fully unlocked earlier for the purposes of PvP. Or at least some way to have like a blue tier set or something, right? Just for us to have like our full class in the game, right? Not wait 4 weeks into a season to finally, you know, play the class at the full spectrum. Now, another thing that's an absolute joke, and I'm just not gonna hold any more punches about this topic, is class tuning. I think class tuning is just a joke. Bigger joke than before Dragonflight. In Dragonflight, they promised us basically this, or even gotten us used to this, like, frequent tunings. Of course, when it came to Season 3, Season 4, these tunings weren't so frequent. Again, now I feel like in the War Within, we're just not getting the treatment that we got in the beginning of Dragonflight, right? And that we thought we were gonna get forever since that point. But by the moment Blizzard just relaxed a little bit, of course they're back to their old bad behaviors. I know a lot of people say PvE is a lot at fault when it comes to PvP tunings, but I don't think that's really the issue in this point. From my knowledge, we only have one developer working on class tuning, and yes, of course, that developer is a rogue player. And I think that's an absolute joke when it comes to this, just the size of the game of World of Warcraft, and also the complexity of the PvP in World of Warcraft. I just don't think one person can complete such a job, and additionally, I don't think it's one of those jobs that one person should do, even if they could complete it by themselves. There should be like another person to basically push back against like the main person, how we want to say. Like there should be some kind of control between the two people. When there's only one person doing the tunings, of course the biases of that person are gonna be pushed through the tunings. Obviously, you're not confused anymore by rogue is never bad in World of Warcraft PvP. I think healing just needs also a rework. I'm gonna make a full video about this with my opinions and some ideas on how you can fix it, but I just think healing is boring as hell, in a sense that not playing the healer, but just healers topping off everybody with like 100 with one heal, and then like you having to wait for like 50% dampening for any your damage to feel like it's sticking. And I don't know, the game I just don't think the healing throughput is good. They are freaking gods, absolute gods in the battlefields, right, on the battlegrounds. Unstoppable, being able to thwart damage of like 4 DPS. It is absolutely insane to me what healers are right now. And I think this is one of the things that is actually draining a lot of fun for me. Because basically outside of arenas, whenever you're just matched up against the healer, you're just like, yeah, I can't do anything against this. The healer is a freaking god, and I'm just a freaking mortal who can't even damage him with my puny mortal weapon. That to me is just not a class fantasy in World of Warcraft that I ever wanted to experience, and I think here it's the worst it's ever been in the War Within. It was bad in Dragonflight, but for some reason I feel worse about it here in the War Within. Another cool idea that I was thinking I'm also maybe gonna make a full video about that kind of ties into the healing issue is bring back double DPS 2s. This would be absolutely huge for the 2s bracket, just for people to have fun and be able to get into the bracket and just play their classes, enjoy their classes, train their class against other classes, right? So I really think having double DPS 2s be unviable is not good for the entirety of the game, especially when we have the healer issue. And I think it would be one of those things to kind of plug the lack of healers, right? Make healers less needed, at least in 2s, right? I must say I've been having a lot of fun while I've been kind of playing a little bit of Rogue while I was sick with my friend, and we have had a lot of freaking fun playing double DPS 2s, but it's just very obvious that it's nowhere near viable as just playing with a healer. We also were playing off meta, I am playing Assassination, but it's very obvious that healers are just freaking gods in this game, and yeah, the best class is the healer class. So to do kind of a quick recap, MMR has problems, right? It is obvious that Blizzard needs to kind of figure something more consistent about this, so it's I feel like a more consistent system throughout the seasons. Melee life is obviously garbage currently, and yeah, I think it's gonna be a very hard fix this time around, because I think it's a problem that comes from design. It's not something that's just gonna get fixed by them tuning stuff. If you're playing warrior, yeah, try to have a gnome warrior, it's gonna feel so much better, and gearing should be unlocked earlier for PvP. As always, peeps, I hope you enjoyed this little video. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things YouTubers want you to do, and have a nice day.